Hello everyone, and welcome to the glorious surroundings of this church parking lot. Today's the day I've decided to actually go out and film my review of my motorcycle. This is a 1984 Honda CB750 Nighthawk S. This motorcycle had a production run of about 3 years, 1984 5/6, I believe. I haven't seen a proper review of this bike on the internet yet, so I decided that this might be a good time to make mine. I think, the third owner of this thing. I've had it for about 3 years. There's a video on my channel actually that you can look at that is my brief description of the video right after I bought the thing. So it has, I'm going to go through the basics in this video. I'm going to go through what I think are the pros and cons, and what I see in this bike really. And maybe some advice for someone that's looking towards finding and getting one of these. They're not too common, so sometimes having advice from somebody who owns one is a good idea. So, basics. It's a weird combination bike that Honda made with this, because most of it screams sport bike, and then some of it just doesn't for whatever reason. And I'll point some of those things out. It has a transversely mounted inline 4-cylinder engine that you can see here. It's dual overhead cam, 16 valve, hydraulic lifters, about 750 cc's. When it was new, the output was about 72 horsepower, maybe 50 torques, something like that. I could be corrected if my information is not correct. The exhaust is black chrome. It has, so that is a sport bike thing. Then it has, the brakes in the front are twin discs with each of them having a twin piston caliper on each side. So that again provides good braking power, at least when it was new, and I'll get back to that later. And then there's the non-sport bike stuff. The stance is pretty standard, like the seat isn't too high. As you can see, the foot pegs are pretty much straight below the seat there, underneath the seat. It's not like you have rear sets on that, really not. And then the handlebars are of decent height there. They're not too far down. I actually lowered it just a bit. And then it has a drum in the back, which is weird for something like this, which would be a sport bike. My 1978, which you might have seen on my channel, has a disc in the back, so that tells you that they could have just put a disc on there. And then the least sport bike part of it, in my opinion, is they went and put a shaft drive on it, which is weird because it robs a bit of the torque. Let me get out of the light here. And I mean, it's really good for if you don't want to worry about maintenance or whatever else, but you know, if it's a sport bike, they would have put a chain drive on it, I would think. So it's got 4 carburetors that you have to mess with if you're so inclined. The hydraulic lifters mean that you don't have to mess with adjusting the valves and whatever. It's pretty straightforward. Let me switch to super view here. Let me jump on this thing, get it going, and sort of tell you what I like about it, what I don't like about it, and my advice to someone who would be looking out to buying one of these things. So give me a second here. So, like I said, what do I like and maybe not like about this motorcycle? Well, the first thing I like, and this was my first bike, so obviously when you're looking for your first motorcycle, you're not sure about who you are as a rider quite yet, and what you like, what you might not like about a bike. So sometimes you want a bike that is inexpensive to acquire. So this was the case with this thing. It was in really good condition. It had been ridden consistently, and it was, you know, a good one of these. And because this is by no means a classic, and then it's still about 32 years old, I paid about $2 grand for this thing. So as far as I'm concerned, I bought it 3 years ago. I could probably get rid of it now for just about the same price that I bought it for. So I don't think that's much of a problem. These things at some point don't depreciate, and then they start to appreciate if they are you know, sought after. So if somebody wants one, if the world wants these things eventually, which I don't know. And the other thing I like is it's comfortable for this sort of thing. Cruising around all day, no problem. The seat is comfortable, the foot position is comfortable. My legs are about a right angle bend at the knees, so that's really good for cruising along and just sort of potting around. And as you can see, my hands are you know, waist height right in front of me. I'm not bending over, my back is straight, and that's comfortable for that. Also, what I like is the engine. I'm just cruising around now, I'm not using the thing, but it has plenty of poke. This thing was a sport bike in its day, and you have to keep that into consideration. Sometimes if you're a smaller rider or someone who just wants something maybe not as fast, you get a smaller engine, but this thing is pretty fast, so you keep that in mind. I mean, it's not crazy fast, there are faster bikes out there, but I like the fact that it has plenty of engine so that you can do pretty much whatever you want with it, including, you know, riding around all day on the highway, which is fine. So plenty of power, plenty of torque. The engine is extremely flexible. That's the nature of these inline fours. You can't really lug them as much as you would, say, a big twin, but you can definitely get away with leaving it. Say now I'm in third gear, about 50 kilometers an hour. It's doing 4 grand, and I can just leave it there. And if I want, you know, give it some poke, and it's gone. And if I want to slow down, I can keep it in 1 gear. So if you're cruising around between lights, you just keep it in third, and you just go. It's 5-speed with an overdrive, so I guess it uses the same gear twice at some point. And it's not really a 6-speed, although it has the same effect, I guess. So it's happy to sit at 100, 120 all day, and you can do that, that's fine. And then it's also happy to do this, follow this slow driver who's braking for no reason. Thanks for indicating. And yeah, so for these reviews, it's fine. What I also like is the noise. It's interesting. It's got the twin exhausts in the back, and you know, when you give it some poke, it'll give you a nice noise. I wouldn't consider it pertinent to put an aftermarket exhaust on this, because it'd just be too expensive for no reason. And because it's carbureted, it's sort of an old school engine. You get a nice little overrun pop pop crackle pop noise, which I find pleasurable. So this is just about where I was when I started, wasn't I? This is a really nice neighborhood, by the way. No, I do not own one of these houses. I wish. I think there was a party somewhere close to here, next to the church. Anyways, things I don't like. There are a few. This isn't a common motorcycle. Like I said in the beginning, it only had about a 3-year production run. So parts are sometimes hard to come by. I actually broke a throttle cable on this thing, so the throttle B cable, or the throttle return cable, is not there anymore. So I have to make do with only one throttle cable, which for now is fine. The brake lines might be a bit tired, can't find any of those in rubber or in braided lines, so have to have those made. You know, the engine is pretty common. They use this thing in other bikes. If I haven't had to, but if you needed to find parts for the engine, I'm guessing that would be okay. Brake pads, discs, whatever, that's fine. But some of the other parts might be a bit harder to come by, so keep that in mind. Another thing I don't like, there's not much room for a passenger. I'll get back to that later. And then the one thing that and this is the reason why I'm considering getting something else than this bike once my Cafe Racer project is finished, is this thing is really not meant to go on a long road trip with. It'll do it. Like I've done days where I've ridden 1,000 kilometers, you know, 700-800 miles or so, and it'll do it. It's just you're going to be really shot at the end of it. There's almost no wind protection. This thing sends the wind right up against my forehead. So if you're doing 100, 120 all day, your head's going to go like this, and you're just going to, you know, feel a big buzz in your ears, and it's not fun. You know, your neck is kind of tired, and the wind doesn't rest against your chest, or doesn't rest or doesn't go over your head as much as I would like to if I'm doing a big road trip. Other than that, the geometry of how I'm sitting is fine for long distances. That's okay. But it's really just the lack of like comprehensive wind protection that gets you on a bike like this if you're doing a long road trip with it. You know, you can fit some luggage. The tank is steel, so you can put a magnetized tank bag on it, which I do sometimes, which is fine. You know, but that's the main reason why I would probably finish the Cafe Racer and then get a cruiser for longer distances, and especially if I'm riding with my girlfriend, who she needs more room than is on this. If it's more than a couple hours, my girlfriend on the back of this, legs start to hurt and whatever else. Anyways, I wanted to talk about the suspension also, right after I go right up to 70 here. And we're there. Speed limit. So you saw a bit about the engine there. It's pretty good. The suspension is good. It has, you know, standard forks in the front with the anti-dive feature, which you can sort of adjust the dampers so that it won't dive as much on you if you're using a lot of front brake. And in the back has got preload adjustment for, I'm a big dude, I didn't really touch the stuff, I just let it sit where it was when I got the thing. And you can adjust the preload on the back. It's okay for the period, you know, it works well, it's really fine. I don't have anything else to say about it. And another thing I don't like is, well, this might be just a thing with this particular bike. I don't know if it's this particular bike or if it's the model or if it's this configuration, but this bike suffers from a disease called shit brake syndrome. In the front, at least. Now, I got it from a guy who swore that he did up the brakes, you know, discs and pads and everything just before I bought it. But I'm going to order a rebuild for the master cylinder, and there's a little tiny bit of warp on one of the rotors in the front. But the brakes in the front lack a lot of feel. There's a lot of play in the lever. Yes, I bled them. No, there's no air. Yes, it's the proper fluid. The pads are fine. I looked at them. But it's one of those things where I lack the confidence in the front brake a lot. The rear drum is surprisingly efficient. When I'm just going about town, I use a lot of back brake because it's completely fine. It's mechanical. There's no master cylinder. It's fine to use almost all the time, unless you're just stopping from highway speeds or these speeds. I'm doing almost 80 now, so if this light were to turn red, I'd have to use the front a lot. But other than that, the back brake is really, really sufficient for almost everything you need. Yellow, we're good. So advice for someone who is maybe thinking of getting one of these, or if you're not actively looking for this model. Like, I wasn't really looking for this model. I was just sort of trying to get my first bike and not spend a fortune on it, because you might get rid of it after a year and a half and you just don't want to spend a lot on it and so on. If you come across one of these, great first bike. If you're not sure what you like, if you're not sure what you're looking for, it's got engine, it's got comfort, it's got I mean, the brakes maybe are fine, maybe it's just this one. The suspension is fine. The tires are standard measurement tires. You don't have to go out and look for old school tires with the weird measurements that I don't like. You know, they're easy to work on. Almost everything on this is a 10mm bolt, so it's really easy. It's obviously 12-volt electrics. It's got electric start and everything. So it's an easy bike to get onto and just go. It's reliable. You can if you feel so inclined, if the wind isn't much of an issue for you, if you're a bit smaller and the wind bubble is above you, then that's fine. You can ride this all day and put some gas in it and go, and don't worry about any of it. So that's really a good thing. The shaft drive is interesting also for a beginner. You don't have to worry about cleaning and oiling a chain or worrying about belt tension and, you know, that sort of thing. You can just, like I said, you just get on and you go. So when you're tired of it, get rid of it. You probably get all your money back and you're fine. So thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe and you look at my playlist for my 1978 build, which I'm doing with a friend of mine, Victor. It was really helpful. And if you want to get more information on this, just leave a question, maybe some things that I've left out, suggestions that you have, comments, whatever. I'm just doing this for fun and just to show you what I think of my bike here. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.